Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Icarus. Okay, so I'm actually recording this in conjunction with Facebook Live. So there you go. So it should be kind of fun. We'll see what happens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and press the Go Live button on Facebook here. Okay, we'll give it 1 second and rotate. It's telling me to rotate my phone. Why is it telling me to do this? Okay, so it looks like we are live now on Facebook, and I'm doing this on the YouTube channel because people wanted to see both of them. Okay, so welcome to episode 2. And as you can see, the background is done, and this is the underpainting. It's completely dry. Yeah, completely dry. So tonight I'm going to start laying in the colors, and we're going to start. Might start on this side or here or over there. I'm not quite sure yet. So you guys will be able to see the whole beginning from the creative beginnings of trying to figure out where to start on this massive painting here. And as always, if you have any comments, please leave those in the comments below. As and the problem is I'm actually starting cold on this painting. I have not set up anything for the palette yet, but we can actually talk about that. Okay, so let's talk about what medium I use. I tend to love linseed oil, and I was very fortunate, I guess probably, going on 20 years ago, I was able to procure a bunch of these old vials, and these all contained linseed oil. I prefer the light boiled linseed oil. It's a little bit lighter, but anyway, that's just my preference. You can use any kind of linseed oil you like. They all do the same thing. Some dry darker than others and all that. And so I, of course, have to pour. Wow. So it has taken me about 5 to 10 years to empty this one bottle. But see, it's okay, because I've got another one ready. Wow, that's kind of sad that this bottle is empty. I'm gonna miss this bottle. Yeah, I'm gonna set that over here. Okay, so I've got my linseed oil ready and my odorless paint thinner, which I just use the stuff from Home Depot. And this is a good one because it's pretty much non-toxic and all that fun stuff, so it won't hurt your plants when you pour it outside. Alright, so so let's get started on Icarus here. Now, I need to figure out what kind of colors I'm actually wanting to use for this painting and what I want the viewer and all of that to go by. So I've been thinking a lot about this and how I want to make this a very personal painting for a lot of people. So what my goals are with this painting is to make you feel like you are Icarus and you are in the actual process of flying. And of course we all know what happened and what choices he made. So with that said, sky, water, in between is right here. And I am going to steer away from using any kind of blues in this painting, because I don't know if you didn't know this or not, but the ancient Greeks had no written word for blue. Some people think that, that's because they didn't have the vocabulary for it. Some people claim that, all of ancient Greece was colorblind, which that's just asinine to think a whole race of people is colorblind. Sorry, I can't go with that one. And maybe it's just because they haven't, discovered that pigment yet. Because, on that island, blue is a very rare color in nature. The pigments to make paint out of are very rare. So that's why blue, in the grand scheme of things, was very local in certain countries and all of that during the dawn of time, because they just didn't have access to the pigments to make the paint out of. So with that, I'm going to be using a lot of they use a lot of oxides in their paints and calciums. So I'm going to be using a lot of iron oxide based paints for this and some calcium based paints for that. And we're going to see how that goes, because that's what I'm going to try anyway. So I think I want to start with right in here. And so this is the beautiful thing about how abstract art basically evolves, is because I don't know really what I'm going to do yet. It all evolves with me and with you guys watching, and that's the beautiful thing about abstract art, is that you have an outline or a frame of an emotion or something that you want to portray, but yet the painting itself will come to life and take on a life of its own, and that's what we're going to do now. So yeah. Alright, so I'm going to start with some transparent yellow oxide, and I think I'm going to use a lot of transparent colors because you know, I like building up paint and building up underpainting and all of that. So yes, let's get started. Now sadly, because this is also going on YouTube, I can't hit Spotify and play music. I can, but when I do that I have to mute the music from YouTube, because if not I'll get nailed with copyright infringements and they'll take down my videos. So there we go. But I think I'll put some music on anyway, and then when I go back in the editing aspect I'll just have to take the music out of the background and it'll just be silence. So the awesome thing about painting big paintings is that we get to use big brushes. Oh, there you go. Alright, so I'm using the yellow oxides here, and we are just kind of brushing this on. And you can kind of see how the oil goes over the watercolor base quite fine. It doesn't affect it whatsoever. And so and like I said, the beautiful thing about this process is that what I'm putting on now is probably going to be covered up 6 or 7 times, but it adds in that that extra layer, or that glowing part, in my opinion, that is oil painting. You know what we're going to do? I think we're going to add in some yellow ochre. So this is going to give it an interesting look, I think. And you kind of see how the yellow ochre almost completely disappears over that red, except you've got a little bit of a glow to it. You know what? Let's add in some, I wonder if I have it. I used to have some red oxide. I wonder if I still have it here in my box. Um, Ooh, cobalt yellow. We'll pull that one out because I definitely need that one. It appears that I do not have any more. Do I have any more of my red oxide? Ah, there it is. I already pulled it out. So you know what? We're going to add in some red oxide up in here to kind of bring it down. Oh yeah, see, look at that red oxide over that red underpainting. It really brings it out a lot. And what's amazing is that this is a transparent red, so it really brings that out. Look at that. You know what I realized? In a lot of my videos, it seems like you end up looking at the back of my head and my back a lot. So, you know what? If you've got like a company, you've got t-shirts or whatever, send them to me and I'll wear them, but they have to have the lettering on the back because, well, let's face it, it's all you basically see from me is the back of me. So, yeah, or I guess I could move the cameras to where they're on the sides, but you know, we'll worry about the a new studio and all that video production later on. So, but yeah, so we're just basically tossing paint on here. Hello and welcome to episode 3. Yay, we made it to episode 3 on this thing. So episode 2 was mostly filmed during a Facebook Live setting, so that's probably why that video was a little chaotic. But yeah, so here we are at episode 3. So today, I think we're going to lay in some more of the heavens above. We're going to lay in a lot more depth up through here to really push this really far back and to really bring this up here. So I think what we'll do is we'll do a bunch of layering to where we'll have, you know, places that will be out and places that will be back, and we'll kind of go, you know, in and out to add some depth to it. So yes. Alright, so without further ado, let's get started on Icarus, episode 3. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use our dark reds for basically to go further back, and then as it comes forward we'll use a little bit of a lighter shade of it. So dark goes back, light pulls forward. So yeah, so let's see how it goes. So you notice that the longer line is going to be in the midground, and the shorter line will actually fade off into the distance to give it more of the depth and all that stuff that you paint by. So you can see here, like this line is right here, and yet if I put a smaller one here, it will push everything back. Then of course we're going to blend it so it's not quite so harsh of a line, just a very subtle line that's in there. Like I said, this is still just almost, well, some can consider the underpainting. We're still far, far, far from having anything done. can almost see the background developing around everything. Like I think we're going to make this come around, and this will be a deeper hole inside, and that will help give us a lot of movement and everything. So add a little bit of red right in here. There we go. It's really going to help that underpainting glow. Then we're going to go back and add a little bit go back and add a little bit of the cypress orange here, right in here. Well, I kind of want a little bit more purple back in there. And I'm going back and using a very light brush stroke to kind of smooth out all the harsh edges and all the harsh brush strokes that you use when you move a lot of paint. And so I'm really liking how this is glowing with that underpaint is really shining through. So I think I'm going to go back and add just a little bit of the transparent yellow, the iron oxide yellow, which is going to float right on top of the surface here, and it's really going to cause everything to really pop. So, but what I'm also going to do is I'm going to switch to a smaller brush so it's not quite so, doesn't take up quite so much room here. And I want to use a very soft brush. So let's see here, here we go. So as you can see, I'm using a very smaller brush here. Get all the studio dust off of it. Speaking of that, where'd Jasper go? I don't know, Jasper's missing. Alright, so my brush is kind of clean now. Alright, so let's grab us our transparent yellow oxide here. Alright, so I got my transparent yellow oxide. Clean brush. Dip it in our linseed oil so it's nice and wet. We want this to be really wet, really thinned out. Almost like you're painting with watercolor. Alright, so you'll see like right in here, watch how this is going to end up popping once I put all this on there. So we bring this in and we're just going to lightly bring that in there. We're going to use a small, abrupt brush stroke to really kind of add a lot of movement and a lot of turmoil in there. Yeah, you can see how that's really starting to pop now. So I mean, you can kind of see how it's really bringing out the different levels in it just by simply just adding more and more color on top of that. And the great thing about using the wet on wet technique is that you're actually painting on the layer below it. So it's kind of cool. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this a dark area, and then I'm going to come back and kind of highlight this in here to really make it glow, to give it some movements in there. Yeah. Then what you can do, you can wipe off all the excess paint on your brush, and then you can put your brush in some linseed oil, dip it down, get your brush really wet, and just kind of like dab off the excess linseed oil. So your brush is still wet with linseed oil, it's just not dripping wet. Then you can go back and you can just kind of really highlight with it really well, and it will grab that transparent color, that yellow iron oxide, and it will really add a lot of depth in there with it. And you just kind of brush it back and forth till you get the depth and the movement that you want. Yeah, it's one of these iron oxides are literally some of my favorite paints to paint with because they have such life in them. Yeah, you can see how that yellow oxide is really just really popping and really glowing there, which is why I like it. Ah, Jasper has made it back in. Yes, Jasper. What is it? What is it, baby? What? I'm working. I can't take you to the park. I'm working. No. No, I'm working. I'm working, sweetheart. No, I'm working. Daddy painting. I cannot take you to the park. So now that we've added the yellow in there, let's go back and add some of the red. So I'm going to use the some of the transparent red oxide. And we're going to get that brush really wet. And I think I'm going to add it in like right in here because I want it to not be as far back as that one. So we're going to add it in just right in here. And it's also really going to cause everything to really pop. That, we want to bring back our edges. So I'm wiping off all the excess paint, and I'm going to take my dry brush and we're just going to simply bring back our edges so that we've got movement. You know what? I'm not really happy with that little section that we did right there. So we can simply change all of it. And you know how I'm going to do that? So I'm going to take a little bit of, this is actually going to be fun. So I'm going to take some flake white. And we're going to try something here. I don't know if it's going to work, but we're going to try it. I'm going to add a little bit of, just a touch of flake white. So we got to clean our brush. Got to get all of our other colors off of it, so we've got a true white. Now, this could be risky, but we're going to try it anyway. Alright, so the brush is clean. And I'm going to try it here. Just a little bit of flake white. It's thinned out really well. We're going to take it, we're going to put it right there. And we're going to move our brush back and forth to give it some movement there. Looky there. There we go. Yeah, I like that movement better. Yeah, I like that movement a lot better, don't you? So yes. So that's basically the principle of how you get movement and all that stuff. If you're, whether you're doing water, clouds, any kind of movement you want, you use very short brush strokes, color, toss in some white, get your shadows, and there you have it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do this basically all over the heavens to really give the heavens a lot of movement. And yeah, we're going to do that. And then as it gets closer down here, I'm going to put in just some white clouds and different layers of white. You know, I showed you in previous videos how you can make clouds out of your different shades of white. So I'll do that. It's really going to bring this really way out. And so then we'll get that done. But as you can tell, I've got a half-inch brush going across an 11-foot painting. So this might take a while. Okay, so I know we've been showing the painting progression in high speed because it's been a few days and a long hours in painting this painting. So I wanted to slow down for a second to explain what all was going on here in the painting so far. So we've got the majority of the heavens laid in, and remember how when I was starting to lay in the foundation, how I wanted one of the main focal points to be kind of off center? Well, that's what this lovely cloud is here. And so that's what I'll be working on today. And I'm actually going to leave this camera going, and I've got another camera set up with a closer view of kind of what's going on here and all the textures and colors involved in that. So because we want to bring this up just a little bit, and then we'll finish working on this, and then we'll move down to our sky and horizon line. So okay, so I will switch to the second camera, and we're using that same technique of laying down the pale yellow and then the yellows on top of that. Okay, so I think that I've finally gotten this to where I really want to. Let me see if I can adjust the camera just a little bit so you can see it a little better. So, yes, so I think I got this to where I want it now. Main view comes in, motion of the painting brings it in, comes down, hits this kind of wall, and it brings your eyes all the way around. It kind of feathers it out a little bit. So So yes, so I think I finally got this little section here to where I want it. Now, we're going to move on to the outskirts and all of that. So for that though, I think I'm going to switch back to the bigger camera over there to give. Okay, so I've raised the painting up and I've kind of adjusted the camera just a little bit here because now I think that the heavens part is pretty much where I want it. So I'm going to pause on working on that for a second and we'll come down to our sky horizon, which is right in here. And I think what I'm going to do is I'll go in and I'm going to add in some of the pale yellow as the white. So it's going to come across all through here. And that's going to be our separation line. And then we'll cast some shadows up, cast some shadows down. And yeah, we're going to inlay some clouds. All right, so without further ado, let's get started. Hello. Okay, so I've slowed the time lapse back down to normal so I can talk to you guys for a minute. So I think the majority of the heavens part of the painting is done, and now today I'm going to be working on, well, the sky and the sea. And I'm not quite sure how we're going to tie all that stuff in together yet, but that's the beautiful thing about abstract art, is that it's always developing and all this fun stuff. So today I'm going to be working on the clouds more. Kind of already got the background done in here, so I need to do the midground and foreground. And for that, I'm going to use a titanium white to really bring these clouds out here and all that stuff. And I think what I'll do is I'll move the camera down just a little bit so you guys can see the area I'm working on today. Okay, so of course, if you have any questions, please leave it in the comments below and I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have. Okay, without further ado, let's get started in painting. Yeah, that's actually a little better, so you can actually kind of see what I'll be working on and all that stuff. Okay, so as you can tell, I've moved the camera. So we've got our clouds resting over there. Trust me, we'll end up going back to them, don't worry. And we're going to now start working on our Icaean sea. So the colors that we're going to use is, of course, Prussian blue, lamp black, indigo, cold black, and I might be tossing a little bit of Egyptian violet in there as well, so that way we can kind of tie in some of the colors in the heavens reflecting back into the sea. Now, I want to do the sea very dark to kind of give it a very cold, dark, wet feel to it, with obviously, of course, reflections of the Egyptian violet, which will be coming from the heavens above, kind of tying everything in together. Alright, so without further ado, let us start laying in some textures and all that stuff with our paint. Alright.